Hello and welcome to the vlog, and as you can see I am up on the boat roof. The paint has had many days to dry and harden and solidify. I'm still treating it with kid gloves and I'm up here in my slippers. And why am I up here? Well, two reasons. First of all, I have not done a video where we've just had a chat for quite a while, but also a rather large number of people spotted in the boat painting video my new shiny chimney, which as you can see is not looking either new or shiny or in good condition anymore. And people said to me, David, is that the same new chimney you had so lovingly created just, what, a couple of years ago? Why does it look like it's been through, well, to hell and back? And there is a good reason, and it's a bit of a story. So, long-term viewers will know this is the point where you need a cup of tea and a chocolate biscuit. Perhaps if you're in the UK, some hobnobs, custard creams, something like that. If you're in the US, probably cookies. Elsewhere around the world, you'll just have to substitute whatever your equivalent would be, because this is a little bit of a tale. So yes, 2 years ago I had a brand new custom chimney made. It was honestly a work of art, and watching it being made was a wonderful thing to watch, and I was very proud of that chimney. And I had it made in, I think it was June, and it sat on the boat roof, shiny and unused largely over the summer months, of course. And then we got to the winter of, I think it was 2018 into 2019, and it was cold. I think I'm right in saying that was the winter that we had the beast from the east come over. And I lit the stove below probably in October, late October, maybe November time. And typically it will then run 24/7, just on a couple of coals, keeping the heat ticking over for all of winter. So 5 months through to the end of March, possibly even still in April. And it came to the beginning of April and it was time for me to go out cruising again. And when you go out cruising, you take the TV aerial down. Obviously you don't want that to be ripped off going under any bridges. And I removed the chimney for cruising, because otherwise that would get knocked off going under some low bridges or through Harecastle Tunnel or something like that as well. So I put the telly aerial down and I went to remove the chimney. And I grabbed it and it would not move. It was solid and firmly stuck into the collar. Well, this is ridiculous, thought I. And I tried twisting it and I tried jiggling it. And I stood above it and 2 hands on it, and I pulled and I pulled and I pulled, and it would not move. Well, since I'd already detached the mooring ropes and the engine was running and I was starting to go down the canal, and it was at that point I thought, oh, I'd better just take the chimney off, this irked me slightly. So I stared at it, puzzled for a bit, and I tried rocking it again, and I tried twisting it again, and I had both hands on it, and I was straining, everything to try and make this thing move, and it was absolutely solid. It was like it was glued into the chimney collar. Well, I'd only ever put it in there. There is nothing that actually physically holds it in place, but something had stuck it down. So I thought, I know what I'll do. It just needs a gentle tap. So I went and got, of course, the boater's favourite engineering implement, a hammer. Now, you're already thinking you can see where this is going, but I assure you it's worse than you can imagine. Anyway, I took said hammer and I gave it just the lightest of taps just at the top. It just sort of went round the edges and gave it a little tap. Nothing. Not a thing. It was still solidly in place. I thought, I know, I'll tap round the bottom. Maybe there's something in there. And I gave it the odd little bash here and there. Still absolutely solid. There was just, I can't begin to describe both how little movement there was on this thing and how frustrated I was getting. Cast your mind back to a very, very early video where I talked about how frustrated I was with the design of the dinette, and I had a little bit of a rant. Imagine that 10 or 100-fold over. That's how irate I was getting at this. So it had to come off. I couldn't cruise with it. It would need to come down, or it would be ripped off at some point going under a low bridge. Well, I swung at it some more, and I started to get a bit more enthusiastic with the hammer, and I whacked it at that. and I whacked it that way. I'm not going to do it now because it's had enough punishment, but you can imagine, instead of just giving it a tap, I gave it a bit of a proper swing, and I was always doing it at the top because I thought that's the best leverage, and then I gave it a whack at the bottom. Absolutely no impact whatsoever. It just made no difference. Well, I'm ashamed to say my patience snapped, and I went and got another engineering implement known as a bigger hammer. This is the lump hammer I put the mooring pins into the ground with. This is fairly weighty, and I thought, right, this will shift it, and I whacked it at the top. I might as well have thumped this at the Incredible Hulk. It just bounced off. Well, I've already said my patience had snapped, and at this point I just got irate, and I said, this thing is coming off. So I stood up, I took this, and I went at it. I'm not proud of it, but I just absolutely went at the flipping thing from every angle, determined that it should loosen from its collar and I should be able to take it off the boat. And you know what? It was stuck solid. It still wouldn't move. You can see how I thumped the thing, and so many apologies to Chris who made it. I was in a bit of a bad mood, and I just went, and it was still solid. So how to get it off? I was almost set to just go back onto my mooring and moor the cut all summer, but I didn't. I did go out cruising. Well, ultimately, I reckoned the only way I was going to get it off was to do a bit of a baked bean tin on it and unpeel the metal from itself to actually widen it from the collar. So I got a screwdriver, and I got the lump hammer, and I put the screwdriver in down where the bottom weld is, and I whacked that, and it slid between the two sheets of metal where they join, and it came apart. And you know what? A tiny bit of white gunge suddenly dribbled out the bottom of the chimney. Aha, thought I, white gunge, that's possibly what's holding it solid. So I whacked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the tiny little spot welds holding the two bits of metal together, and I pried them apart. Bit like the Incredible Hulk pulling apart a car or something. It was very similar. And all this white gunge that had accumulated from presumably condensation, maybe it was scale or something from the water, I don't know, but it started to dribble out the bottom of the chimney, and suddenly I could wiggle it a bit. Freedom! Yes, it was like that scene in Braveheart. Freedom! I thought. And I just kept going, and eventually pulled this metal so far apart and wiggled it and hit it with the hammer again, and all this white muck came out the bottom, and eventually I was able to twist the chimney off and go cruising. Hurrah, I thought, this is a triumph, until of course I then looked at what I'd done to the chimney and realised that it was a sort of two-sided triumph. Now, the chimney itself still works as a chimney. I can put it back in, and the following winter I remembered to jiggle it every week or so it didn't get seized up. It still works as a chimney. It's just not very pretty, and really I need to get Chris to build me another one. So that is the story of what happened to my beautiful chimney, and as I say, I'm not proud of myself, but it had to come off. It was stuck solid, and of course the annoying thing is that all the dents I made in it initially trying to free it needn't have happened, because if I'd just pried apart the metal at the bottom to start with, let all the white gunge out, and then pushed the metal back, probably nobody would have been any the wiser. But there you go. That is the tale, and that is today's video. Please don't hate me in the comments below. Cheerio.